Hello and welcome to another edition of the Ask Dr. Pickel show. Today I want to do just kind of a quick, almost research update, informational update for a lot of you who may have not heard of about this or of this. A lot of this information you did not hear about at all through the news, wasn't really reported whatsoever. So I'd like to kind of go over that information. And a lot of this involves, it actually in September 2019, basically the FDA came out and said there was a drug called ranitidine that needed to be taken off the market because they found that ranitidine actually was carcinogenic. Meaning cancer causing, which is not good. Very interesting. So now what is this? This is your antacid drug. This is Zantac, which is a common name. And so immediately CVS, Walgreens, these other drugstores pulled it off the shelf, which, it actually at that time, this is one of the highest selling or the top dollar drugs in the United States. This drug was making a fortune. And so, again, even at that time, you didn't hear much about it. It was slowly pulled off the shelves. And then, well, actually, it was recommended. Let's put it that way. But they did pull it, and then finally, April 1st, the FDA said, "Hey, you got to pull it all. We're not keeping this stuff on the shelves because actually, it was still being put out. The manufacturer was still manufacturing the drug, and its use was so widespread. In fact, there was a study back in 2017 that basically showed that the urination of ranitidine, what they did is they looked at the urine of people who had ranitidine in their system that was going into wastewater, was causing carcinogenic pollution of municipal water supplies. That's a lot of ranitidine. But it was the number one selling drug. So, and actually there's a chemical in it called NDMA. And this NDMA is a very unstable molecule. And so again, that kind of opened the door to it being carcinogenic. And also the thing is this drug was also found in other studies, especially there was one in 2004. So they knew about this back even in 2004, that this drug could also cause bladder cancer. But again, nothing was said, nothing was done. These universities finally started doing multiple studies and finding out, hey, this thing's already on the market, but our studies are showing that this is some really bad stuff. So basically in the summer of 2019, there was the investigation, and then now, of course, all the class action lawsuits will have fallen into play. But the thing is these antacid drugs, what is their role? What is their purpose? Well, if you have heartburn, reflux, indigestion, what's really going on? Why are people wanting these? Why was this the biggest selling drug in the United States, or one of them? Well, the thing is when we eat food, that food goes to our stomach, of course, and has to be digested and broken down. And when that process doesn't occur right, we get indigestion. So, which again means digestion is not happening. So we've got to think about what's causing indigestion. Why isn't it occurring? And what's really the problem at hand here? Because the commercials really don't tell you the whole story about this. So the thing is let's put it this way. In the United States, the majority of our foods contain a lot of stuff They're cooked at pretty high temperatures. Anytime you cook a food over 118 degrees, you lose the natural enzymes that it contains to help digest itself. So let's say, for instance, you eat an orange. That orange, inside of it, contains its own enzymes that help to break it down in our stomach. So these natural enzymes that come from more raw foods or foods that aren't cooked as much, they inherently have these good enzymes. So enzymes play a part in this. We make our own digestive enzymes to break down these foods, which is very important. Our stomachs also make hydrochloric acid, which we need and helps to break down foods. And then also we have good bacteria in our gut that helps us to break down food. So these are kind of the main components here. Now, the thing is all of this occurs in this perfect fashion, or it's supposed to, as we eat and digest food. Now, here's the thing though, is there's a lot of foods that are being cooked at high temperatures, cooked in bad fats, all kinds of things. So this can cause inflammation of the gut. A lot of people say, yeah, I only get heartburn if I eat fatty foods or if I eat this or that. Well, the thing is basically when you eat something, the first thing it does, let's say I eat a sandwich, it goes down to my stomach. The first thing that happens is the acid in my stomach breaks it down and digests that food. It just breaks it down into tiny little amino acids, peptides, breaks that protein down. And so then it goes into my small intestine where it can be absorbed. It can go into my system for fuel. We need this stuff: proteins, fatty acids, minerals. Now, again, also in the small intestine, there's other things occurring too. We're releasing those enzymes. We've got the bacteria. We're releasing bile to break down the fats and oils. So all these things kind of orchestrate in a certain manner. But let's say my gut's inflamed due to a condition. If I have a chronic health condition, an autoimmune condition, most people with those types of issues, or even someone who has high stress, what happens when you have high stress? Your body goes into a sympathetic mode, a fight or flight mode. When I say sympathetic, it doesn't really mean sympathy. Sympathetic nervous system, or your fight or flight system. It means like I'm running from a bear. So if that's occurring, if I'm running from a bear, do I need to digest food? No. My blood will divert away from my digestive tract. Also, if I have a thyroid problem, what happens in my gut? Everything slows down. I don't make as much acid. I don't move food along. I don't make things as well. All my digestive organs slow down. I get constipation. So again, there's so many different possibilities that can affect your digestive tract from a health standpoint. That's what we've got to find out. But let's go back to the sandwich. So I ate the sandwich, goes to my stomach. Let's say I'm not making much acid at all. If I'm not making much acid, that food does not digest. In fact, it just starts to sit in my stomach. Some of it may move to my small intestine and just sit there. But the inside of my body is about 100 degrees. So what's going to happen to that food in a period of time? It's going to ferment. It's going to rot. I know that sounds gross and horrible, but it's going to rot. And when it does rot or ferment, basically that fermentation process makes bad acids and it makes gases. Now, if I make bad acids, which again in the commercials they portray, hey, you need to get rid of the acid, antacid. So that's because those bad acids. Now, if I'm making these bad acids, yes, that will cause, our stomach lining wasn't built for those. So that can irritate the lining, irritate our esophagus, heartburn. If we ferment that food also, it makes gases, and those gases have to escape up or down. Also, those gases can propel the food up. That undigested food can come up our esophagus, and this can cause a reflux type situation. So again, we need this good acid, and we need these enzymes to work. Now, again, it's interesting because there's different triggers. It's like the hydrochloric acid that you need in your stomach also helps to trigger the gallbladder to contract and release bile. There's this coordination of events that has to occur. Now, if I take an antacid drug, what happens? It suppresses all the acid. There's none left. It's all of it is gone. Now, the thing is then when I eat the sandwich, yeah, the food ferments, but the antacid is going to prevent some of the symptoms of the fermentation. So that's really what it's doing. But still, I'm not digesting my food. And that's the problem with these drugs. That's why if you look up your antacid medication, not just Zantac that used to be on the market, but some of these other medications, you're going to find that the side effect list is about a mile long. And a lot of it relates to things that are caused by deficiencies, such as osteoporosis. Yeah, you're not absorbing minerals. We're going to get to protein deficiencies. Muscle wasting is a potential. Again, if you don't get certain vitamins and minerals and fatty acids and proteins in your diet because you're not absorbing them, yeah, your body's going to start to malfunction. You're going to start to have problems. Now, there was one more interesting thing that was ignored for a lot of years with this drug too. When ranitidine was studied in the past too, there was one study that said it caused depression. So again, some of these drugs even have these other effects. So I do recommend, either ask your pharmacist or just go online and Google your drug and look for the side effect list. And it can be very long. So again, and take those side effects seriously. Sometimes it may say very rare or they'll kind of qualify those. Doesn't matter. It can still occur in anybody. And rare doesn't really mean rare. Again, these drugs can be dangerous, and over time, in fact, if you look at a lot of the drug flyers, the handouts that come with these, they're only saying to take these for short periods of time, which can be 60 days, maybe 90 days at the most. So the thing is to also read and to find out, hey, I've been on this now for 6 months, a year. What is this doing to my body? All right. So how can we deal with this? Well, first of all, you got to find out what is causing your body not to digest properly. What's causing indigestion? Is it just simple? Do I just need to take a digestive enzyme because I'm not making those enzymes, or I'm cooking my food too much? Do I need to take a probiotic? Have I had lots of a history of antibiotics or things that have affected my good gut bacteria, my good flora? Or is my stomach not making enough acid? Do I need to supplement something like hydrochloric acid or HCl pills to help my stomach to make acid? Now, again, these can be temporary fixes, but they still don't usually address the cause. The cause is what we really got to find out, is why is this occurring? Do you just inherently, are you just inherently not able to make enzymes or acid? Usually not. That would be pretty rare. But is there some other condition, something else in your system, an infection, which happens commonly in the stomach? In fact, one of the biggest causes of heartburn or reflux or indigestion related to the stomach is a bacteria called H. pylori. And so again, you want kind of an interesting side note to that. Everybody has a little H. pylori living in their stomach. These are bacteria that act as scavengers too. But if our immune system's not working right, their populations can rise. If the stomach lining is irritated a lot and inflamed from bad foods, maybe, their populations can rise. And they can live in the stomach and the small intestine. There's also what's called H. pylori jejuni that can live in the small intestine. So either one of these can create problems. Also, the testing for that is not always totally accurate. One thing we found is that a lot of doctors may test by biopsy of the stomach when they're doing endoscopy. That rarely will show if you have this or not. Usually there is a breath test that can be done at a laboratory. You basically drink this stuff, it goes down, and then you breathe it out, and then if there's this bacteria, will off gas, and they can test that. And then if the H. pylori lives lower in the intestine, then a stool sample can also show it sometimes too. So again, it's looking for these possibilities, and it's not always H. pylori. There's other bad guys that can affect our gut. There's other things that can compromise the immune system in our gut, chemicals, heavy metals. Anything that compromises the immune system in your gut, which, remember, 75% of your immune system's in your gut. So if you start to compromise it, a lot of things globally in the body start to have problems and break down. So if you have chronic health issues, if you have an autoimmune issue, you're very subject to this type of a problem. You know, if you don't really have a lot of health issues, if you're usually a pretty healthy person, but you're just having some issues there, yeah, maybe it's some quick fix. Maybe it's just, hey, I just need to do this. So I think you've got to kind of investigate a little, find out some more information, and see what can be done if you suffer from this at all. I hope everybody enjoyed this information. Do share all of our videos on Facebook and YouTube. And I hope everyone has a great day and got some great information today. God bless.